You have to be so fake in this world, so
You
it's
do.
good to have a little.
And I was really reluctant to, like, I don't know. Just now, or almost 30, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll play along.
Yeah, so reluctant. I feel the same way though.
Yeah. It's just like, Joe Rogan mentions that briefly when he said, like, growing up, he felt so much angst. I forget which podcast it was. He felt like so angsty and so, like, I guess, typical angst, young person angst feelings. And then, of course, he has to couch it by saying, I know other people suffer more, but, like, that's real pain,
It is. It's just that the worst part is it's like I didn't think like I could win at that game. It's like if I thought I could win, then like I would have played differently.
That
but like
too.
I rejected the game entirely, and then I was like, oh, I'll just reject this game, and then it's like, but you're still playing a certain game. You're just losing at that point. Like you think like you're getting out of it, but you never get out. You never.
Yeah, and you know the guy Scott Adams?
I don't know Scott.
It sounds familiar.
He's the guy who did Bill Burr, the cartoon.
Okay.
Oh, he wrote that book you read, right?
Yeah, he wrote a really good book. I have it. I highly recommend that book too. Actually, you can borrow it if you want.
What's it called?
The book is called How to Fail at Everything and Still Succeed. And actually, that really in part because of that book, I got promoted because it really inspired me.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'd like to check it out.
Yeah. So he has he does like Periscope something. He just something happens, so he'll like say his thoughts and record himself. It's not really like an official podcast, I think. But he, like yesterday, something he was saying, he was criticizing Sam Harris for something because Sam Harris is very anti-Trump, and Scott Adams and Sam Harris was saying that one big bad thing about Trump and like is that he lies way too much, and though everybody's full of shit, especially in politics, that he's such a liar that it's just a whole new level of madness, But Scott Adams says, it's a mistake to criticize that in a way because Sam Harris is more or less saying that the truth is more important than the result. Like you're compromising the result for the truth because in those situations, you tell you the truth, everything is gonna fall apart, So because that people can't tolerate that more or less, So I think that's a good point. The point being, that sometimes telling the truth is gonna make it impossible to get the good outcome, In a perfect world, it would be nice that if people, were up for that and we all got along in that way. But because that's not how it is, then either you choose the truth or you choose a positive outcome,
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good point,
But what makes that interesting, though, is like it's kind of like the stock market, where it's like when you look at the quoted price of a stock, it's like doesn't really represent like the value of the company, and you can think about that like. So if you tell the truth, it's like that it would be worth much less, But people keep telling lies, like lies and lies, and then it's like for a time, like you profit and you profit and you profit off the lies, overvaluing a company. So you're getting more money because there's sort of like lies being told about the value, just like in our interactions. But eventually you get a market correction, which is like where, for whatever reason, like all of those lies like come into check. And then it's like the truth is kind of revealed, you know? And at that point you're like so far out on a limb. And so it's like, basically I'm curious, and it's like, I fully agree with what you're saying about how, like, the truth can't be like always put at the front because things will collapse. But then again, it's like, how do we determine how far like we should go with our structural lies? Because it's like, isn't the idea that fundamentally like the lies are faulty in their structure?
In some way, yeah, but that's the part that gets confusing. Like how much should you lie? Because I feel like at work, something happens, and if I explain myself in a certain way, then like maybe I would get in trouble, But I very strategically leave a certain detail out or something, Like if somebody's angry, I won't say they're angry. I'll say, "Oh, I'm working on this for this person,"
Right.
So it's just like, yeah, it's weird, I don't know.
How do you? We need to if we're going to be liars, we have to determine like the best possible strategies for lying.
What do you think, Eric? What do you think about how much you should lie or not lie?
How much? I don't know. I've been doing it just to save my ass this whole time.
Yeah.
That's where I draw the line. Will it save my ass? Then yes. If not, then no.
Don't do it for no reason.
Yeah.
But do you feel bad when you do it, even if it's to save your ass, or do you feel like, oh no, it's fine?
I mean, it's not. I'm not out there doing malicious things that I have to lie about. So every lie that I really do is just a small judo move just to get me out of potential trouble.
Like if you fuck something up by accident or something?
Yeah, but even if like if there's a fuck up at work, for the most part, I'll admit it. Like there's
Right.
no reason trying to judge that because it's gonna come back to you anyway. So
Right,
I just
right.
like stand up and take the blame
Yeah.
because it's my fault anyway, and then just correct it from there. But for other things, yeah, I would just like lie about it. But it's not like I'm out there lying all the time, you know.
Yeah.
Just when I guess the occasion occurs, and it's like if this is really negative, then I'll lie about it. You know.
What about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been lying a lot more lately. You know, I used to have a policy of like real hyper honesty, and then I read the 48 Laws of Power, and I was like, yeah, fuck that shit.
When when do you feel that you lie the most? Eric is saying that I guess to save his ass is the biggest thing probably.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
The same thing, where I know full well in my heart like what the truth is, but I also know full well in my heart that
People
it's-
can digest it.
people can't digest the truth. You know, it's like it's not time. If I it's not going to help me to tell the truth at that point. It's not. I mean, but then that's why I get back to this thing. It's like how far can I like push the truth aside before it comes back to bite me in the ass? You know, it's,
Yeah.
at some point like the truth needs to be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think like the way I guess I'm kind of learning to deal with it is the truth. The words are very deceitful, right? Like words and ideas, they aren't like the fundamental thing. The fundamental thing is action and reaction and like behavior and things that actually occur. And I know that those things are influenced by language, but in general, language is so faulty anyway, you know, and limited. And especially when you're communicating with other people who don't use the same vocabulary, who don't have the same ideas, that I've kind of lost a bit of faith in language itself as like a medium that I can use to reveal the truth to people.
That's an interesting point. That's like have you heard of B.F. Skinner?
Yes, I have.
He was have you?
Yeah.
He was like one of the like original psychologists, and because his field was like behaviorism, which basically he thought that all that really matters is people's behavior. You know, what you think, even if you think crazy things or the people are talking, aliens are talking to you. You know, that doesn't actually matter as long as you don't act that out.
Right.
You know, all that counts is how people act, basically.
And he did a lot of experiments that, you know, just showed how you can be programmed and
Yeah.
predictable using behavior. And it is like that. The more I realize it's like people say lots of shit and like 80% of what people say is like bullshit compared to what they actually do. You know,
Yes.
people work and do things in a very predictable way, and they tend to just act that way and never question it. And they'll say all kinds of shit to try and make themselves into something they're not, and they believe that verbal narrative while they live a life that's completely counter to it. And
Exactly.
that's just what I see. And it's like, you know, how are you going to like contend with those people on a verbal level when that's the way they're operating? I'm sure I'm doing it too.
Yeah, I think like the limit of language, because you can't even if somebody tells you about, you know, I don't know, a nice time they had at the park, something simple, you can't really understand what that feels like for them. You know, you sort of understand because you do that too, but yeah, it doesn't quite fully connect.
No, and that's like that's a really pedestrian example, you know, and that stuff is okay. That to me, that seems like a more appropriate venue for language. It's when people start trying to articulate like their own philosophy and ethics and things like that, which most people don't even do that. You know, most people don't even get to the level where they think like, what are my real ethics? You know,
Yeah.
because they again do things without calculating. They just react. You know, they've never sat and like thought about like an ethical backdrop. And even if they have, the ethics that they speak don't align with the, you know, conduct that they're.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I feel like, you know, like when Sam Harris talks about the truth, I used to be more like in his boat, you know, too. But I feel like people always say what's easy for them to say. Like, it's easy for him to say that because he's some rich guy who can maybe act out in that way, you know, because he doesn't like have to answer to what most people have to answer to, you know.
Yeah.
So like even Jordan Peterson, like he talks about the truth a lot too. Like it's easy for him to say that. Like in a way, everything people say, part of it is because it's easy for them to say it. I think pretty much always, maybe not always.
Right.
But like you're in a position to say that, and in part that's probably why you believe it, you know.
Right.
It's easy when you're rich for like writing books about philosophy or the truth to, you know, preach that and maybe even act that way, you know.
Yeah.
But most people will never reach those levels. So, and then you're telling them they're a bad person for not acting in that way. Like their life will fall apart if they do what you said, you know.
That's right. But then maybe there's just a truth underneath it all that we're not seeing, you know? Maybe the reason it's going to fall apart is because it's not even that we have our lies and we have the truth and that we understand the truth. Maybe that even the truth that we believe that we understand is so far gone that it's not like we are inaccurate about like what we denote as the truth. We don't know the truth even. We have a false idea of that. And our lie, like, I don't know, this idea just came to me. But we see our lie as like a certain distance from the mark of the truth, right? So my lie is like 5 ticks to the right of the truth, right? And I'm going with that. But my perception of where the truth is wrong too, you know? And so even maybe that's it. Maybe it's not that the truth would destroy things. It's just maybe even when we think we're telling the truth, we're even still telling lies, and we're even still going, like, that's really the source of destruction. Maybe if we understood the full truth and we could speak the full truth, then maybe that would not be as destructive.
Yeah, and I think things get really abstract, like you were saying, that when people try to describe their experiences or their ethics, you know, because sometimes I try to talk to Stacey how I would talk to you.
Marie.
Sometimes I try to talk to Maria how I would talk to you, like very intellectually, and she understands in some sense what I'm saying, but she says like that's very abstract. So she's like, I don't really know what you mean, you know?
Right.
So I feel like this sounds sexist, but it really isn't. I think women have a much lower appreciation. I don't think they're dumb at all, but not dumb. I don't think they're dumber than men. I think they just generally are less interested and have a less appreciation for intellectual things.
Is that the truth?
Do you guys feel that way?
I think
just like that they don't, not that they can't understand, they just don't seem to be generally as interested in that.
I think they don't like mechanics, and I don't mean that like they don't like people who work on. I mean like
they don't like wrenches.
The mechanisms of things. I feel like women have less of an interest in the mechanism of anything. Right?
Yes, so they want to like feel it out.
A man, yeah, exactly. Like a man will open up like. I'll say computers because I feel like that's more reasonable for us. Like we'll look at the components of a computer and an operating system and the software and those things intrigue, and we like to look at those things. And I mean, I know I do. You guys do too, right?
Yeah.
And so we like to look at that shit, and we kind of like marvel and are curious about the mechanics of that. Like we love the order, like just the cold order of that. But yeah, I do think for women in general, it tends to be like things need to be imbued with a sort of life.
Yes.
They need to have a personality. Things need to, like, it's the dynamics of character and personality and narrative that seem to intrigue women more.
Yes, I think they don't care as much as, like, very precision in terms of numbers and calculations and, like, precision. They seem to be a lot less concerned with that.
Yeah.
Do you think that?
I don't know, because I know guys that also I can't like talk to these things about.
Right.
Honestly, it's like you guys that kind of hang out and talk about these sorts of mechanics.
Yeah.
It's like maybe I'll get like a few other people every once in a while, but it's.
So
I feel like mainly most people don't. So
you don't think it's a woman thing?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if enough women that I can be like, man, they all don't do this.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I have like one or two that I can talk shop with. You know.
You know women who are into that.
Who can talk on that kind of level. You
Yeah.
know. But it's not all women either. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of hard to generalize all that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm extrapolating from women are more emotional, like that cliche. But I
Right.
feel like that's also true.
I agree with that. I totally agree.
But
I think,
go ahead.
I was going to say, like, the cliche becomes a cliche for a reason. You know, stereotypes are created for reasons. You know.
Yeah, but maybe what Eric is saying is, I mean, what you're saying is true too. Like, I guess to the degree which one is more true, I guess, you know? It's hard to say. I would put my money on what I'm saying out of bias and also out of, like, it just seems that way.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I mean, that doesn't mean, like, I guess everyone is that way.
Yeah, but I think Eric makes a good point too, that in general, when I say like the mechanics, like what we do here is like we're really interested in like the mechanics of like ideas and things like that. But I think I agree. I don't think everybody is as like thrilled to get like into ideas as much as we are, but people, other men would be interested in mechanics of other sorts. You know, whether it's like athletics or technology or things like that. So we happen to like have a special love for ideas, but
I see what you're saying now. Huh.
Do you think? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not even saying anything. But I was looking deep in thought, so I'll let it pass. I was gonna say maybe the mechanics that women do like to get deep with, you don't, so you don't recognize it as like deep mechanical like thinking. You know?
yeah.
Like they don't vocalize it,
Well, it's like
or do they vocalize it only to other women?
it's like you can sing in Spanish, but they sing in English just because like you don't understand the words. Like it's still a song.
Right. Like they're processing it a different way.
Yeah.
Like they don't feel the need to talk about it. You mean?
It's or they approach it from a different angle.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they're still kind of approaching the same territory, but from a different perspective. Maybe an emotional perspective, if
Yeah.
you want to generalize
Cold
like that.
bastard.
Do you think women are more emotional?
Hell yeah. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say they're more expressive of their emotions. They let them
Control.
They
them.
give the reins. What's that shit? You use
Yeah, the reins, yeah.
Those are reins.
Yeah.
All right, they give the reins to their emotions. They're more loose of like giving it to the AI to drive. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Well, we're like, I want to drive. Like, I like driving. It's like,
Yeah,
nah,
yeah.
I don't want to take that left turn. It's like I don't want to go into all that right now.
That's another thing, though, too. Talking that book I read really it changed me quite a bit, or at least it gave me, I guess I'm experimenting with like a different mode of being, but same thing where in the past I put a lot of emphasis on my emotions. I feel like as a man I'm kind of more in touch with my feminine side than maybe the typical man would be. Like
Okay.
as an artist and a creative type, I think that's kind of natural. Again, stereotyping, but it is what it is. And so I've always been like a very emotional person, but like you say, like kind of internally, like I have this almost like romantic view of the world, like through my emotions. But more and more, I've been trying to like suppress the urge to respond to things emotionally, and then everything has become like I want to be in control. Like I'm getting more about like I want to control everything, and I don't
Yeah.
I don't let my emotional reactions like take over because I'm like that's going to cause me to lose control of the situation,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I'm a little weary of it because I'm like I don't want to ruin a good thing about myself. There might be really great positive elements of my ability to be in touch with my emotions, but at the same time it seems like having a strong emotional response to a thing is a very like it's very exhausting,
And it really turns people off, and it makes you look weak.
It does.
And it makes you look like a fool, And especially, I think the problem becomes, especially in the professional world, no matter what job you have, that is the biggest turnoff to people, or like employers and even other coworkers. Like if you flip out, people are like, oh, they look at you like, oh God, like this, oh,
Yeah, right. That's the problem. I think it's the equivalent of being high in public.
Yes.
It's the same thing, and you could tell yourself like, "Be cool, be cool, be cool," or you like freak out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you freak out, that's letting the emotions take over.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you're being cool, you're being cool. Like nobody can tell you're high. Like it's just because you're high and you're thinking that.
Yeah.
So I think it's similar things. Like
Yeah, like if you like, yeah, go ahead.
if you're in public and you get your emotions, like it's like that's an emotion. I'm gonna like weave it there. Let me just stay on track, and then when you get back to a time where it's appropriate to deal with the emotion, you can go back and unfurl it and be like, what's up with this, and then digest it, and then like readjust, and then go back to your life.
Yeah, it's really
You can
Yes.
bottle that emotion and save it for
Exactly.
later.
That's kind of my way that I'm trying to spin this.
Or just disregard it entirely if it's nonsense,
You
right?
could, right?
Yeah, I've done that,
Yeah.
but you got to be careful because some shit you think you throw away, but it's like
Right.
there.
it's like the toilet paper on your shoe. You're dragging it around the whole time. It's like, oh shit.
What were you gonna say?
I have two things I wanted to mention. The first is like my one like kind of strategy is like, oh well, since I am a creative, it's like maybe I could just like I can really just save everything for the work, really like save it all for that now instead of like letting it go on like blowing it off like during the day. And the other thing I was gonna say is like one of the strategies I've been using to control my emotions is like when I start to like get like overwhelmed by like negative emotion, and positive to a certain degree, but it's harder to do with positive emotion. But I feel like it's kind of important to do it with that as well.
Mhm.
But like when I get overwhelmed with negative emotion, I imagine that I'm having a bad experience. Like I'm on something and I'm having a bad experience.
Oh, okay.
And I remember that, like how just as when I have been in those experiences and having a bad experience, that's like there's always resolution to it. And so it's like that has trained me to see like my waking sober experience as a sort of like continuous psychedelic trip. And I'm like whatever the emotion is, like it kind of comes from the same place, and it's gonna pretty much function the same way. So I think about it the same way now. So I see it as it's as transparent as that was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You know, Jocko Willink. He's the one who wrote Extreme Ownership, right? He was in the podcast. He has a podcast too, which is really good. And I saw a clip of it. I haven't heard much of him, but I want to hear more of him. He seems like a really inspirational person, and like he's like a tough guy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's super
talking,
tough.
Yeah, he's talking like, I'm actually like, I'll kill you probably.
Yes, very easily kill you, and like 10 different ways could kill you easily.
But he says, like the emotion thing that we're talking about, he says that, you know, certain emotions, like little things, you know, that, you know, you might get pissed, like somebody's slightly rude, or, you know, you get caught off on traffic, or you get offended by something small, like those kind of things you should like bottle up and just destroy, because it's nonsense, and that's like nothing good is going to come from dwelling on that or expanding it, you know,
Right.
or that like being how you perceive things now. But he says that, so like those, like you should forget, you shouldn't address those emotions. And he says that, I know that's going to be unpopular or something, but like you really should do that because it's worthless for the most part. But then like the stuff that really bothers you, that, you know, like you have a very deep relationship problem, or a very deep health problem, and that's like destroying your mind, or somebody you love died, like stuff like that. He says stuff like that you should let out and like appropriately process emotionally, and I guess in other ways too, like you should cry or something, you know. Maybe now you don't go in public and start screaming, not like that, you know, but maybe you should go home and cry or something, you know, like you should allow yourself to go through that, because that will be too much for your psyche, you know.
Hey Cole, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to use the bathroom.
Okay.
wow.
This is the first time ever, so
It's okay.
Y'all can keep going.
All right, we'll keep going. You can listen back later. You know, the book is good too.
But what do you think about that? Like completely disregarding the like the minor things and like taking the other one seriously.
Yeah, I think that is a good strategy. Easier said than done, but I
Yeah.
guess it depends on who you are, you know. I try to do that a bit too. And I had the same problem when I started doing that. I was concerned that I was like negating something significant in myself, that if I take this part out, am I like repressing
Right.
and censoring myself in some unusual way?
The little ones, the little things.
Yeah, but I never made a distinction, you know.
Right.
that-
You put it all in the same bucket.
Right, I thought, every emotional response is like kind of the same, and you know, maybe it's not the case. You know, I think it would be more useful, like you're suggesting, to have it not be the case.
But how do you feel that you process things now? Do you allow, like, when little things bother you, do you try to like squish that?
Yeah,
So you just don't act on that?
yeah. I really try to avoid it, and I realize, like, I think about it from a very kind of an economical point of view, where it's like having intense emotional response, or basically being stressed.
Yeah.
Being stressed is like an incredible. It takes a lot of energy. Like more than anything, being stressed takes a lot of energy. So, like when I was working, even though I was exercising, getting enough sleep, and eating fine, drinking water, all that shit, when I would have a stressful day, I would be exhausted. And that's when I kind of realized I was like, I have to. I can do all these things right, but if I'm still getting stressed, it's like I'm working, my mind and my body is working 3 times harder, and I'm wasting all my energy being stressed. And then, so it's just become a thing of, how do I deal with the problems that are making me stressed without stressing about them?
And do you feel that you're getting better at doing that?
Yes, because it's, yeah, absolutely. I think it's really incredible. Like Eric was telling, I don't know if he mentioned it on the podcast or something, or if we were just chatting, but he talked about this guy that, like, he did something where he put this kind of, like, Wi-Fi, it basically picked up, like, Wi-Fi signals,
Okay.
and he had this thing, like, touching his body. It was like a plate that was attached to his body that could pick up Wi-Fi signals,
Okay.
and, you know, he started training himself to experience Wi-Fi signals, and then he removed this like kind of thing, and he
Okay.
was still able to like detect the presence of Wi-Fi.
And he was
signals.
corrected, tested, and he was correct.
I think so. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. When Eric comes back, you know, I don't know, you know, he can tell us more about it, or maybe ultimately share the link so we can read about it. But I do believe that I think that human beings have just a fantastic proclivity to be able to train themselves to do like almost seemingly anything. And like another thing he mentioned that was really interesting was there was an experiment where they put like these goggles on people that inverted, like there was like some mirrors in them, so basically you would see the world upside down when you were wearing them. People would wear them, and then over the course of a couple of days, while keeping the glasses on, their vision inverted again. So you know we see everything upside down,
Yeah.
but the brain corrects, right? And then so they put the glasses on, fucked the world up, flipped it upside down, and the brain recorrected again. So even though they were wearing the glasses that were making them see upside down,
They still saw properly.
they saw properly again.
Oh, wow.
And so it just, when I hear about things like this, it seems that when it comes to like psychological things, it seems like I mean, that's a very kind of like basic, like just pure optical thing. But at the same, so the reason I bring that up is like, well, maybe it's easier to influence a purely physiological thing like vision, right? Whereas something cognitive might be harder, but maybe the opposite is true. Because if you think about it, right, it's the lower parts of our brain that are more stubborn, but maybe they're more simple, right? Those are the lower parts of the brain stem and the hippocampus and stuff like that, the amygdala. Those parts of the brain are super old and super like deterministic, you know, like they do what they do, and the cortex is the neocortex is the one with all this thought, you know, that's convolution and everything like that. So if you can alter those lower parts of the brain to function differently, why not? How is it, you know, that we can't change the cognitive part?
Yeah, I think that like the emotions can be so overwhelming that I think people generally just give up. You know, they're like, oh well, this just makes me angry. It's like, oh well, you know.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you, do you think that you say you're getting better and not acting on those, on like I guess more things that are on the trivial side when they bother you? But do you feel that they bothered you less, or they still bother you just as much? That just now that you're better at dealing with it.
I think I don't know. I guess it would have to be that I'm better with dealing with it, and in turn, it bothers me less because.
So like initially it bothers you as much, but then because you're better at dealing with it, it goes away quicker.
Yeah, and I think it does get easier because then you realize that you don't need so much. And I think there's this sort of psychic acclimation that takes place where it's like, you know, in the beginning you're having an emotional response which is inflated to the reality of the situation. It's like you're reacting at 10 times the necessary emotional level for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then so it's kind of like just rationing out like the emotional energy that you're going to expend on something, where it's like, okay, well, instead of reacting at 10 times emotional energy, I'm going to react at 2 times and see how that goes. And then you react at 2 times and everything works out just fine. And so you continually react at 2 times, 2 times, 2 times, and you're like, oh, well, that's fine, you know. And it works all the time. So I guess maybe if you have a healthy brain, your brain is just going to restructure itself, you know.
Yeah, it's just hard, you know, to like draw the lines. Like we're saying, it seems like you're saying easier said than done. Like anything.
Yes.
You know, like it seems trivial things. Okay, I'm gonna toss this in the garbage. No more trivial things. I'm gonna waste my time with. And then like the really heavy stuff. Okay, I'll deal with that how I have to deal with it. You know. But then it's like, you know, how, you know, like anything else, the lines get blurred, and it's hard to, you know, like situate yourself in that way. You know. It's just like I guess you got to just keep pushing it. I guess. Yeah.
But I think you're right, and that's always the case, you know. It's always a question of like, right, the line gets blurred, right? But what I discovered and what I've been trying to live by is, it's like the key is not to look for the line, right? You don't.
Are you okay? Yeah.
You don't look for the line. You can get the line, like get the line in sight,
Right.
but don't try to land on the line, because the line in this case, Eric, being like, because all right,
Talking about lines though.
no line.
Oh.
I could draw a line. Just real quick. So I was talking about my experience with trying to like be more in control of like the emotional response of things, you know.
Okay.
And Tony was, brings up the timeless problem of, well, then we always have to worry about where do you draw the line. So how can we tell like where the right point? I guess where is the right point of like how much emotional energy should you invest in something? Like what's the appropriate amount? And the point I was going to make just now is that line of like where is the perfect amount? Like it's senseless to try and find that line and land on it. Mm-hmm. It's like it goes back to what we talked about a few weeks ago, where it's not. Life is a game, and not what's the opposite of game? It's not like a law of nature, Like
it's not written out.
Right. It's not something like that you can understand in those terms. It's fluid. So I feel like the best strategy is not to intellectualize about where is the line, but just to act. Right. So you have your, general cognitive idea about where that line might be. And you act, and if the result is good, then that's good. You continue, right? It's just like the arc of the leaf, or any organic form. It's following this path where, like, how does it have that perfect economy? Because it keeps acting and adjusting, and that's the way we need to act. It's like, it's not about planting, like, a stake or a flag in the ground, being like, here it is always. You always keep moving dynamically along the actionable path. You don't think about it. You act.
That seems like the better way, because a lot of the time I think, something will annoy me at work or in some otherwise, and I'll think, that strikes me as unfair, But then I'll think, like, is that really unfair? And then I'll get lost in the sauce of, like, what's fair, what isn't fair, what am I missing? Why? Like, it's just like it becomes like I'm impossible to figure out intellectually,
Yes. And certain things are like that, and it's not to say that we shouldn't like deal with things on an intellectual level to try and solve those problems, but at the same time,
that can be. I mean, like, I guess intellectualizing is useful, but you can get lost in the sauce with it,
Yeah.
Like you're saying, you can think about something and act and see how it goes, and then okay, that worked out or not, and then I'll try this.
Right. Yeah. I feel like that's the appropriate balancing act, where when you have an intellectual idea, like the intellectual idea isn't worth anything if you don't test it.
Yeah.
And then you test it, and then you'll realize the exceptions to your intellectual rule.
Yeah, which there are a lot of exceptions in my intellectualizing, especially because I remember, sometimes I still do it, but a lot less now that I'm becoming more normal or something. Mm-hmm. That for better. I mean, I'm still kind of fucked up in the head, but I'm like, I guess a lot more measured than before,
Right.
And I think sometimes that, especially in the past, that I would walk around like kind of like you're saying, that I have this romantic view of the world and about what love should be and what people should be, and then I think, oh, life is so beautiful because this is like what's out there for us to take, in some way, or to take advantage of. And then like I would try to bring that to people. It's like, oh, isn't this really cool? Like, don't you see that this is how it should be, and like me and you should do this? And everybody's like, what? So it's like, what are you even saying to me? It's like, what do you mean? It's just like, it never. There were moments where there were incredibly beautiful moments, yes, but I never really got what I thought should be. And I think maybe that was I think we briefly touched on this before, but maybe that was more of a fault of that kind of problem, intellectualizing something or like daydreaming about something that really I had no evidence to claim was out there, or to believe, or even to claim that everybody should be doing this,
Right.
When I'm just like, maybe I'm just like fantasizing in my head,
Yeah. And I'm sorry if I'm talking too much.
No.
But it goes back to that other book by Benjamin Zander, The Art of Possibility, which I recommend you guys listen to. And The Art of Possibility, I'll just paraphrase like the most important idea, is that when you have this fixed idea about what the situation should be, you negate the true beauty of like the unique thing about the moment, right? Like there's something that makes every moment special. Let's just say,
right.
Let's just go with that assumption for now. Like every moment has within it like bliss and perfection, but our position in that moment, coupled with our expectation of what things should be, deny that real existence. So because I'm dreaming, like you're saying, daydreaming of a certain perfect scenario, I never embrace the real scenario
Right.
that is embedded within like reality. Like it's there, but
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
paying attention to that because I'm too absorbed in my own fantasy.
Right. Or you miss out on like how it could, like there you can manipulate things, but you'll miss out on those possibilities if you're just focusing on the one thing that you think should be the case.
Right, and you have these fixations, right? Like, and that's why I like the Buddhism. When you think about Buddhism, and it's called like attachment or clinging,
Yeah.
and but it's that's what it's about. It's like you're stuck on an idea. You're stuck on all these ideas that you can't like. You have like a weird shape, and you're putting it on top of everything, and you're like this. And it's like, no, it's fucked up. No, it's fucked up. But you have to take that viewfinder away and start appreciating the real edges and the real shapes of things. Then you'll know like how to interact. And I think under the influence of certain mind-expanding substances, that's really what's happening. Is that we're losing the viewfinder, and we're finally seeing the shape of reality, and we're like, oh my god. And that's why you feel so powerful. Because you see it clearly now. You can see, like, of course it's going that way. Like,
Yeah.
and then you step right into it, and you're like with it.
And you can't. The thing is, like, I used to usually resent this, but I think maybe it goes to what you're saying is that, you know, like the world isn't gonna adjust to you. You know, like you will adjust to the world.
Right.
Like you're not gonna break the world. Like you're not gonna beat the whatever is fundamental that's happening. Like you can't beat that.
It's like,
you know?
no gravity.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like saying, well, like, I don't like gravity, so now now that's how it is. Like,
I don't believe in gravity.
yeah, like
Yeah.
you like it's that's kind of the stance that I used to take, I think, and like yeah, like you will break yourself against the world, you know.
Yeah.
Not to say that there isn't room for the manipulation, but even that, like the limitations of whatever exists, like are set in some way, even if you can't see them,
Right.
and like the ways it can be manipulated are in some way set too, in some vague way maybe, and you can't really deny that, and like the more you deny that, the more you will suffer, in a way.
Yeah, and that's kind of always been my understanding based on what Jordan B. Peterson has said about telling the truth versus lying.
Yeah.
And then his argument has always been that telling the truth, as best you understand it, puts you closer to the true edge of like reality where you can touch and interact.
Right, like you align yourself with like
Right.
what is right.
Versus like lying is like building a faulty structure that's going to collapse at some point. It's
Yeah.
putting you away from the line of the truth. But I don't know.
But also I think like I would think that sometimes like even lying, like we were saying a little bit, lying I think is part of the right thing to do to align yourself with reality in a way, in some like paradox,
Yeah. So we've hit the point now where lying is the truth, and that's what we should do. So, all right. I don't know what to think. But you're
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah, I and that's what we said before is that it's absolutely unreasonable to think that we can tell the truth
all the time. Yeah.
all the time and to try and think that we're going to get ahead by doing that. But again, yeah, so I do think you're right, and it is a certain paradox, but what's good is like this is a Terence McKenna thing I'm throwing out here. What is it called? Coincidentia positorum,
What's that?
which is like a chemical term. And so like the alchemists believe that like that was the purest form of something, whether it be like a concept or material or matter, was supposed to be like the coincidentia positorum, where you have like a perfect contradiction that's like kind of unified unto itself, and it's like that was the final form of something, because it kind of encapsulated the whole picture. And it is an unreconcilable paradox, but
So what I'm saying would be one of those.
yes, where now we've arrived at the point, or it's suggestive of that. It's hard to ever see it and to know it, because it's just like an alchemical kind of concept. But it is, right, that like lying is the truth, and truth is the lie. Like so. But even depending on how much credence you give to alchemy, but even in alchemy, like one of the principles in alchemy is that all truths are lies and all lies are truths. Like even in like the basic outlining of principles like alchemy, which is an archaic nonsense science, but
if you look at it from Carl Jung's perspective, like Carl Jung had like a lot of interest in alchemy because for our sort of predecessors, alchemy was this crazy quest to unify the material, the psychological, and the spiritual, to put those three things together to see what the alchemy was. Like when we talk about that word, it's like how these things are interacting together to create the world. And so it's like, even though it's primitive as a science, it is very revealing about the way human beings think and behave in the world, because that was like the first time we did that, you know? And before people decided to separate psychological and spiritual phenomenon for purely material phenomenon. Which happened during the scientific revolution, where people were like, well, we can just look at physical occurrences and not include the human element, you know?
Yeah, because before it was like, before everything was philosophy, it was like, it wasn't physics, it was like the philosophy of physics.
Yes.
You know?
And natural philosophy and
Yeah.
things like
Yeah,
that. It
yeah.
was, exactly.
Because now it's like, I think like philosophy, then like once it gets like ironed out and elevates itself to science, and it's like, okay, we don't need, now it's not philosophy, now it's biology.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the coincidentia positorum now that we have, that truth is lies and lies are truth. So, then how you're supposed to, how that works in your personal ethic, I don't know. But I mean, I've kind of, for a long time, and this happened to me a long time ago, when I was intellectualizing, where I would intellectualize to the point of just like pure frustration, like you're talking about, where it's like, well, I'm always contradicting everything. Like for everything I can think, I can contradict it.
Yeah.
Pretty much, you know? And usually it's, you know, it might come down to a very absurd questioning of like getting down to the bottom of even like questioning. It's like, well, what does it mean what does that word mean, or something like that.
Yeah.
And but I think ultimately it's a valid contradiction. But I could always contradict, and so like I got so frustrated with dealing with it that I did actually say like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to believe and not believe everything at once. Like I started taking the stance of like everything everybody tells me is the truth. But like the absurdity of that is like, well, if everything is the truth, like nothing is kind of the truth, you know? And I actually adopted that position when I was a lot younger, of just like believing whatever people told me. Like I didn't bother like trying to sort it out, because again, it seemed like a waste of time and energy. And it happened first with politics. When I was in high school, I got so disgusted with politics and trying to understand politics. I'm like, it's all deceit, you know? But all right, I'll believe it all. So tell me whatever, you know?
Yeah. That's all interesting stuff. An awkward and radical change of topic. So yeah, I went on a little like mini cruise, which is very bizarre. I feel like, I don't know if you guys have had jobs where this happens. Maybe it's more like business bullshit, but well, everything has business bullshit to it. But maybe especially that kind of what I'm doing, kind of. But although it's nice in that way too, that I think like the bank tries to do like I think part of them really does want to do nice things for the employees, but they always try to do it with like, okay, so all the employees want to do something nice or they need a break. Okay, let's grab all the employees and their bosses and let's go on the trip. I'm like, no, let me go home, you know?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like part of me feels like it's nice in that way, but
send them away separately.
yeah, like I don't want to hang out with you people, really, you know? Like I think a lot of the people that I work with, like I do admire them. Like, well, the people higher level I admire. The people on my level, I think like they're generally good at what they do and like they are capable people. I wouldn't say it's not enough that I admire them, but they're like pretty decent people overall, and they're good at what they do and they're intelligent people, you know?
Right.
So, but I don't necessarily want to hang out with them.
Right.
Because it's, one, I'm kind of a little socially bizarre. And
Did your coworkers pick up on that, or did you play it with like,
they probably did.
okay, well, go
Oh
on.
yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit. So I'm a little socially bizarre, as you may have noticed. And then also, I feel weird because, you know, I want to talk really deeply with people generally, and generally people, not like we were saying originally, people don't really want to do that, it seems, generally.
Right.
And also, since I want to go in hard into things, like, you know, I don't want to do it with my coworkers, you know, because I start drinking with them, like who knows what I'll say, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't want to
Okay.
lower my guard with these people because, like, I can't trust them, you know?
Right.
So I'm like, I was kind of like, like I don't know, it was giving me like tension, you know. I was in New York. They let me leave at 3 so I could make it there on time, which is nice. But like the stress of going there and then coming back and the logistics, I'm like, I wish it would have just gave me the day off, you know.
Right.
But then I'm like, don't you guys like, yeah, like stop doing that, like leave it, like some 50-50. Sometimes, you know, there could be a little party you can choose to go, and sometimes just like use those funds to let people leave, you know, like most people probably would have preferred to leave. I would think, I don't know. But anyway, so you don't think so?
I don't know. Again, you're socially bizarre. So
I think it's 50-50.
But what would you?
some would like to go and some would like to
What
stay.
would you prefer? Do you think?
I,
Like,
I would rather go home.
yeah. What about you?
I mean, I had a party and I went home, and then I had another party before that, and I just like took that day off, and I didn't feel bad about like not going to the party. I mean, I enjoy the free food. You know, I like eating the food, but yeah, that's about it. I
But
don't.
you would prefer not to go.
I mean, generally, yeah. I mean, ideally, I would go, eat the food, and leave immediately. You know, just the food would be like the optimal thing, because for the exact reasons that you're describing. But I think like you don't appreciate the subtleties of like of bullshit that have to go on.
No. The thing is, I do, but I do now more than ever. But I mean, sure, sometimes I miss it, you know. But
Yeah.
I do. It's just that, in a very real way, like here and there, I still resent. I'm not fully there. You know, like I'm saying, I'm playing the game a lot more.
Yeah.
And because of that, like I got this job in part, and like I'm doing well overall, you know.
Right.
But still, part of me is like, fuck this, you know. Like I don't want to play this game, you know. At times, like that still will get to me, you know.
Absolutely.
So-
I think that
Yeah.
what I want to say is that the reason I think management does that is they want employees to mingle together a bit, because it helps for team building when you have people that can
But you're with the buzzwords team building.
Yeah.
Synergy.
Synergy, yeah. Promote synergy.
It's funny because they did call it a team building event.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they want you guys to go and feel like you're having like positive experiences
Yeah, yeah.
together
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and stuff like that. And then also just for like the corporate image, you know,
Yes.
it's just like it's the difference between somebody getting you a thoughtful gift and handing you a gift card or giving you like $50. It's like
Yes.
hell yeah. It's like definitely most of the time we want that $50. Let me just spend it the way I want to spend it. But there's a certain you lose some of the personality of like buying somebody a gift.
Right.
Like, a good gift should be a thoughtful gift. You know,
Right.
like
That-
one
yeah.
that like, it shows that I understand you, even though like what you're saying is like they're completely misunderstanding you. by
Exactly,
giving you
but,
that,
yeah, but I think like you're trying to get like their heart. I think their heart in part is in a good place
in part, why do you? What part of it is in the wrong?
because
place?
like there's like a phoniness to it fundamentally always. Like there's always like it's always in part for their benefit. Like
Right.
they're more concerned about what's good for them always.
Yes.
So that is bullshit. Like, and that never gets revealed, but everybody knows that, you know.
Is there ever a point where it's like it's good for everybody equally? Like yes.
No, I don't think so.
No, because it's like obviously they're doing it so that they'll have a better team, right? They
Correct.
want the team to be like together, and they want you guys to be happier because happier employees perform better in the
Yes,
workplace
yes.
and all that. So yes, but like you don't think there's ever a perfect union between them doing that for you and them benefiting from it?
No, I don't think it's evil, but it's just I don't think it's evil, but I think it's just human nature. Like me, I operate in the same way. I just don't have the resources. Like everything I do is primarily for my benefit. Like I always want to be the one that capitalizes the most.
Right.
And of course, like I said before, like I want to do that ethically, you know. And when somebody's a higher position than you and has a lot more funds, in a very real way, it makes sense. Like they should capitalize more because they're the ones granting you the opportunity to do anything at all, you know.
Right.
So like that, I think that's fair in a way, you know. So I don't like fully resent that, but part like a little bit of me does because there is that bullshit element of like, oh, this is for you guys only, you know. But it really isn't. But of course, you know, like the game part, you never reveal that or something. I don't know. But yes, that's, a little bit of that bothers me. But at the same time, yes, it is a nice thing, and like I do think they mean well too. You know.
So
So it's a lot of things, you know.
So be creative here. If you had to think of a different sort of scenario, like an ideal kind of scenario, aside from just letting you go home, so
Right.
they have to do something
Okay.
for you.
You already lost me.
You have you have to go and do something. What would you want them to do for you?
I would want them to
Laser tag?
give me. Oh, like they can't just give me money.
No,
Oh, it has to be an event.
an event.
VR.
Team building has to have a team building element.
Okay, so we sit down in a nice lounge, and we all drink. No, not crazy, but like have a drink or two, and eat, and just discuss things very deeply, like about like the philosophies of life and the philosophies of banking, even because that really will maybe give us a better perspective on what we're doing and become better employees if people were open to that. You know.
Right.
So a very deep discussion about banking / life while we eat and drink and stuff like that. I would prefer that.
You can't you? I want to hear.
Organize that shit.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Take,
say. Eric.
take charge.
Yeah.
Extreme ownership.
There is an option, like you can like start your own like little side thing and have your own, like you can, like if I want to start like a gay club, I can do that.
Yeah. No, corporations
You can?
should
Yeah.
start it. Start the gay club.
There's like little different
Like
charges.
I'm not gay. I'm just running the club.
I just really like gay people.
It's a good position.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can do that. Yeah, but obviously like that would be a lot of work, you know. Like I could like almost arbitrarily make myself the president of a club and create it myself.
That's it. I mean, I think that is a bit of a. It's not. It wouldn't be the first time that somebody arbitrarily created a space that they could then like run and dominate. I mean, that's how like new markets are created all the time.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, now you need this. It's like I didn't need it before. No, you need it now because now it's a thing.
Yeah.
So, what's your ideal get together?
Exactly.
I guess I think a sporting competition. You
Yeah.
know, you
Oh
got
my
two
God.
sides, 1-1.
I thought about it.
Koreans
Vol-
first. Everyone else.
like volleyball or something
Korea
like
versus
that.
Portugal.
Nothing too heavy, where that one fat person could just like kind of stand there. You
Yeah.
know how it is. That'll kind of help because like everybody wants to win, whether you like it or not. They're just like discussing philosophies. It's easier to just shut up
Right.
and not like
Participate.
space out.
Yeah.
If you're into action, it's like you gotta cooperate. So at least this way, you're cooperating like literally, you know,
Yeah.
because you want to win. So I mean, I don't think the philosophy like plus points would be as great, but
It's less likely that people will be open to that probably.
what
The philosophy thing.
maybe yeah. But I think the chemistry of playing like a sport together would
Yeah.
kind of jump things up a bit. You know,
But
'cause
then-
that you're kind of gonna want to watch someone's back a bit more, or like look out for them. Things that could lead to faults in like the business chain of events. You know, it can help kind of gel some things.
That could work also, but I also like people are so unathletic that I don't know if like if people are open to that, I think that would be great, you know.
Mhm.
But I feel like people are so terrible at being athletic, like maybe they would just stand there, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
But
true.
yeah, you mentioned that, like doing something with volleyball or something.
Yeah,
not
that's
as
fat fucks
intense.
that
But-
just stand there.
Yeah, but that's also like I think that's a fun idea
And
too.
a
You
lot,
know?
a lot of companies do things like that. They
What-
have the sports teams, like different departments will
Yeah,
play.
I
that's
guess-
how a lot of sports teams started because they were like Arsenal. That was all the Arsenal workers. Thus
They all
they
came from
called
a
it
band.
Arsenal.
Nice. And they played against the other people.
But I think the sports thing is more likely to work than my idea
right.
because just like people generally don't care about these things. It seems.
Well,
But go ahead.
I would just real quick about your thing. It's like if you created something like that,
Like the people who care would come.
it would appeal to the
Yeah.
people.
The
Obviously,
people.
just like with you, if people who are not interested are kind of like forced to attend that sort of event, they're going to be just as disappointed as you were at this one.
Well, I wasn't. Well, I haven't told you how I.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
But there was some of that. But wait, before I say that, but what would be your like if you had to do a work thing? Like, what would you like to do?
I think I'm gonna go with the sport thing too. Just like I like the free food and all, but maybe if there's a way we could combine, like you go and play, and then you have a lunch after. That would be good because
Like a
Yeah, it's like
volleyball
play
game?
lunch and then somebody has a talk, and then just kind of wrap things up.
That would be cool because I've had good experiences like that at my job. Like we always do like this faculty versus student volleyball game, which is like a bit of a highlight of the year, and it does like
Yeah, those are funny.
we lost this year. It's terrible. We destroyed them last year. This year we lost. It's because so many people are leaving and it created a rift in the team play. But so I think I do think that those things are good, and I feel like you should be. I even feel like we should be able to train like as a team, like a little bit before going in, just getting thrown in. But yeah, that seems like it would be optimal. I think because if you're moving around, you're getting good like endorphins and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
people, you'll have a positive experience because you'll be feeling better. You'll
Yeah.
be feeling good.
Maybe I should suggest a volleyball game because I don't think I like.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Well, I do volleyball is fun, although I'm not great at it. Like I can do.
That one's great.
I can probably do okay.
Except professionals, they're great at it.
Yeah.
I can just like dunk on my ball.
Yeah, it's fun. It's satisfying. Like
Yeah.
I created like many rivalries among the students, like for spiking on students and stuff like that.
Yeah, oh yeah, spiking, not dunking. But yeah, I feel like then again, like the people like work with, like my team is all girls, so like I feel like
Girls like volleyball.
yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm
they
too
do.
strong. Not that I'm so strong.
I'm
not.
too strong.
I'm too strong for
All
like,
of you versus me.
This
Compared
is
to
why
them.
you gotta play, because you gotta realize it's not all about you. Your strengths,
Yeah, your strength doesn't like
might be
make others-
offset
yeah.
by the incredible team play of
Maybe.
the girls. You know, they'll just, you know, you can't do it.
Maybe.
You can only hit the ball once in volleyball.
That's true.
You get one decisive action.
I gotta like crush them with like each like
Yeah.
kill, like knock them out one by
That's
one.
right. No man is an island.
Team destroying exercise.
So what? Tell us about the real.
So it
what
was
happened.
a Pier 15 by World Trade. You know where that is?
Yeah, I generally.
Yeah, that's a nice little area actually. I kind of that.
Oh,
that-
in Battery Park.
yeah. So it's a nice little area, I think, and like it seems like people are pretty like more low key there, more relaxed, a little more relaxed in the craziness of.
Midtown.
Yeah,
and
a lot
Wine It
more.
and
Mind
West
if I
Street.
turn this off for a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that okay?
Is it bothering you?
I'm just a little chilly. I can turn back on in a little
Yeah.
bit.
No,
Just-
That's okay. Is it like hitting you?
Not really, but just the general temperature.
Okay, that's fine.
It's like you're kind of sweating a bit. You know?
So turn the mic on. No, I'm kidding. so yeah, the little area was nice, and like the thing started like boarding of the little boat started at 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mini 2-hour cruise. So 5:30, Pier 15. All right, yeah, we're in Battery Park. 5:30, it leaves at 6. So obviously they were all planning to go together, like taking a training, an Uber, like, and they were gonna get there like at like 4:30 or something. I'm like, hell no. So I'm like, you know, it's easier for me to go home and then take the pass train from there. Since I'm gonna drink, I don't want to drive. It actually is true, and all I told them was that. But a big part of it also is like I don't want to spend that much time with you guys, so I'm gonna get there at the last second possible.
Yeah.
So I left that out. Speaking of, you know, that's like I massaged the truth. I didn't lie, but I said my lie
Yeah,
anyway.
you chose the truth.
Yeah. There you go. That's a good one. I'm gonna choose the truth from that one. I just chose the truth. So I get there like at 5 or so, and I'm like, that's too early. So I went to a bar nearby.
Uh-huh.
I went to a bar and I had a beer. I had a Blue Moon, and I'm like, let me get a little bit of a buzz. I'll get a beer, a mini buzz. I'll get a fat beer, and then I'll just hang out until like 5. I'm like at 5:40, I'll walk into the boat. And then, so I go to the bar, and like some girl, like the bartender was like some cute Asian girl, and she asked me for ID, and I'm like, really? You think I'm not old enough? She's like, yeah. She's like, maybe you're not. I'm like, okay. I wasn't mad, but I was just surprised that you would think I'm not 21, you know? So I'm like, okay. She's like, wow, you look like 22. I'm like, really? Like, I was so happy that she told me that.
Big tip for her.
Maybe she was lying, but I'm like, I don't think I look 22, but could I pass for 22?
Do you want to be 22 though?
No, but it's nice that you look young, you know?
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
true.
Do you think I could pass for 22?
I don't know. I can't even like.
I don't know anymore
So
like,
old
what's
now.
happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll take that as a no.
You're
So,
between
yeah.
17 and 25.
So
17 or 48.
Gabby once said I looked 35, and when I was 25. I'm like,
Yeah. Well, you know, she was never one for kind remarks. So.
she's like, a lot of people look older. I'm like, 35 though? I'm like, are you crazy? Anyway, so yeah, I had a beer. I was flattered by the compliment, although maybe it was a lie. Who knows? So I get there at 5:30, and basically I end up boarding the boat like at 6. And at first it's a little bit awkward because it wasn't like really high level. It was people on my level and one level above. And those people didn't do Slack stuff, so I couldn't really get into those conversations.
Oh, well, I'm glad you were even thinking.
Oh, you
about
actually
it.
thought, yeah.
Yeah, I
was
thought,
just
like-
bullshit.
I know you guys were like half joking, but I'm like, maybe I would do that, you know? Maybe this would be a good time to...
Yes, that's the way I would handle it.
So I'm like, I did consider that, but then I'm like, these people aren't either my level or like the boss of the people on my level. So it was my team, my boss, and the New York team and their boss. And that's it. So 2 groups. And they're like, so yeah, like all losers. No, I'm kidding. Like nobody of that high of a stature, you know?
Right.
So I'm like, you know, so we got in the boat. It's very like, you know, shaking a lot, so almost to the point of nauseating. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna suck. And then I can see like everybody's like getting a little nervous because like we might get sick or something, you know. But then like it starts to settle down, and then we eat and like kind of like casually talk a little bit. It's not too bad, you know. And then we all want to go. We were drinking two. I only had two drinks throughout the night, so 3 with the beer in total. I'm like, I'm not drinking more than 3 because I don't know what the hell. I don't want to say anything crazy.
That's fair.
Yeah. So then. So I stick to that, and I get my little wine after we eat. And so far, it's like, okay, you know, it's not too bad. And then we go to the deck, you know, like to see the view. And the views are beautiful. Like, it's like a perfect day to have done that. Like, I had some pictures, and I took a video, too. Maybe I'll use it for, like, Cold podcast.
Oh, there you go.
A
That's
video
good.
or, like, a picture. Like, you go by the Statue of Liberty, and, like, the sun, and, like, the pictures don't do it justice, but they're still nice pictures. It was so beautiful. I wish, like, that would be perfect to trip like on a
When'd
boat.
you go? Friday?
Friday, yeah.
I
Friday.
went Friday to the concert in the park in I think Brooklyn.
Oh
Is
yeah,
it
and
Brooklyn?
Oh, so
Prospect
you were in
Park.
New York too?
Yeah, he
Prospect,
was in
yeah,
Sunny
so
too.
I saw that sky. I
It was
know you're
beautiful,
talking about-
right?
Yeah, I was just like looking at
It was a
what
beautiful
you're
evening. Yeah, so tell me about that concert a little bit after this, but yeah. So that's interesting. But yeah, like so yeah, it was like views were beautiful. I'm like, oh, this is really nice, you know. We're like talking like casually. I was like, okay, I can tolerate this for like 2 hours maybe, you know. But then they start playing what I would consider horrible music, which is like, you know, like although some of the songs are fun, some horrible, some songs were kind of fun, and everybody starts dancing, you know, and I'm like, I don't really dance, you know, and most people are obviously horrible dancers. Like most people were dancing like they suck, you know, obviously, but they're having fun, so it's fine, you know, like whatever. But like I'm way too shy to dance in front of people in general unless I'm absolutely wasted, or even then I would be shy. And then especially in front of my coworkers, like I don't want to dance with them, you know. So then like one lady starts to try to dance with me, and I'm like I don't want to dance. So that's kind of awkward thing. I'm like, but nobody's like getting like crazy with it. But like everybody's not everybody, but pretty much everybody was dancing a little bit, and I was like you know like like, I don't know. So then I just kind of make my way to the front of the boat and kind of just abandon them. And I just like start looking at the views. I'm like, let me just look here for a while, then I'll come back to them. So then like I do that, and then I come back, and they're like just sitting talking. So I join the conversation a little bit, and then like they start dancing a little more, and I'm like, you kind of just like, I kind of try to like BS my way out of that, you know, and like more or less succeeded. But that part was kind of awkward, you know, because I'm like, and then also because I don't know, like the other team seemed like they just do the job because it's just a job. Which is most people, I guess, probably. But I'm trying to like capitalize as much as possible now. So I feel like they weren't like excited about anything, or about success, or maybe not even whatever. Even if they would have been like nothing about them seemed like they were excited. Maybe they were having a shitty day. I don't know, you know. So they were kind of like a bummer, and like my people were more upbeat, but like they're kind of like also not particularly, you know, very excited about any given thing, or maybe like it wasn't the time to go there or something, you know, whatever, I don't know. But so I was kind of felt like I wanted some great conversation or something inspirational or something like I always do, and that didn't really happen, and I didn't really want to dance. So there was some disconnection there, you know. And I try to like, you know, fake it and like be nice and everything, you know. I didn't like put my foot in my mouth or anything. Like I was respectful, everything more or less was fine, but I did feel that disconnect of like like people are into this like dancing to these horrible songs, and I don't really like this, you know. I would never, if I would dance, it certainly wouldn't be to this music, you know. So it's just like I just felt like that, and that kind of depressed me because it kind of like made me. I felt like I was like in the middle of nowhere in the ocean, and I was like all alone. And I'm like, fuck, I'm getting depressed. Like like I'm like the odd man out, and I felt like, oh no, like I'm sinking into the abyss. I'm like, no. But then I'm like, all right, like it's almost over. Just like BS a little more, and like you'll make it out alive.
Keep BSing. Just
Yeah,
keep
yeah, like keep BSing, keep smiling, like. And then like I make it through, more or less. Other than feeling awkward because of that, which I obviously I didn't vocalize. You know, I'm like, yeah, it was really nice. You know, the views were beautiful, and the views were beautiful. But I kind of just
Choose the truth.
yeah, again, I just when they asked me how did I feel about it, I'm like, I just told them the good parts, you know. I didn't tell them, you know, I was sinking to the abyss because I feel all alone in the universe. So then we leave the boat, and then we all have like a nice little walk to the train, and that kind of was kind of cool. You know, we kind of talk a bit, and we start talking about 9/11 because the statue, like the memorial's right there, and then like the girls didn't know how to take the train because they didn't know that area, so I showed them how like where to take the train and everything. And like I kind of like took charge in that moment, and that kind of cheered me up because I felt like I was the leader, and they were all like depending on me because they were clueless. And I'm like, oh, yeah, go here, and go here. And they're like, how do you know that? I'm like, oh, I've been here before. I just know, like, don't worry. And so like they just all like believe in me, and I just led them into the correct train.
Right.
And that was like that kind of helped me feel better about
You sent everyone to
the destruction in my soul. So then like that made me feel better, and then I'm like, all in all, you know, I felt kind of shitty here and there because I felt all alone, but that was very short lived, and in the end, like overall it went well, and like, you know, nobody probably would have known that. Maybe they thought it was a little weird that I went off by myself a little bit, but other than that, like, you know, we all kind of left on good terms, you know. So, you know, it ended up being like okay, you know. So it wasn't too horrible. Other than that, it wasn't too horrible. So that was that, you know.
You survived.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah.
You got a meal, some wine out of it.
Yeah.
Nice
Yeah.
trip.
I think going off for a second, staring at the space is perfectly acceptable when you're on a boat.
Yeah.
During,
That's one of the two activities.
unless
we
it was
do.
raining outside, then.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Unless you got a poncho on.
An umbrella on the boat by myself on the deck. But one of the girls, one girl named Dina, who's like a really good employee overall. She's I work with her. Like we don't like deal with her that much, but it's here and there we do. And like I'm kind of like into her in a way. But she might be like 35 or something. But she's like, and then like, I'm not. But like, I don't know. It's like when I'm hanging out with somebody I like a woman, like. It's kind of like my nature is to make it progress into like, okay, like follow me into the bedroom, you know, like that's kind of like just by nature I try to act in a way that will lead to that, you know.
Right.
Or at least leave those doors open.
Yeah.
You could sleep with me.
I
Just
do have a new bed, you know.
Just
It is made for two. So she's like really cute and like little and like I don't know. She's really. I don't like her that much, but I wanted to fuck basically. But she also she does have a good quality. She's sweet and she's a smart person, you know. So
That's not important though.
yeah, but she's like, I was into her. Although she's not the hottest girl or anything, but I just wanted to fuck anyway. So, but then like yeah, like on the walk there, like I'm talking to her more than anyone the whole time on the walk back, you know, and I'm like.
Cementing.
Part of like even like my nature, so like what are you doing later? Like just I try to like frame it as like a curiosity of what you're doing, but really like my true sentiment is like what are you doing so we can hang out, you know? But I wouldn't really have done that.
Right.
But just by nature, like I go there, you know.
Right.
But then
You're much more outgoing than you used to be. I'll tell you that much.
but then I'm like then she's like, oh, I'm just gonna go home and relax. I'm hanging out with my friends tomorrow. I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. So then I'm like, all right, just leave it at that, you know. But something in me is like, fuck her.
You are cool if I came over then.
Yeah, where you guys live?
So, but then like.
Show you around.
But then, like right before, like that feeling of fuck everyone, like you know, makes me cross the line. I'm like, let me end this like now, you know. So I'm like, oh, that sounds nice, you know. I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow or whatever. I mean Monday or whatever. And then like, yeah, that was that pretty much. So yeah, I think I walked from Harrison all the way here, which I haven't done in so long.
Wow.
And it
It's
was
a long walk.
Yeah, but it was nice.
It's like 40 minutes.
Yeah, maybe a little. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it was nice. And yeah, and that was that.
Perfect. Too bad you didn't have any.
Oh yeah.
Makes walks like that really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Uh,
I considered that, but then I'm like, I feel like very weary of getting in trouble with the law
Yes.
because I got arrested once. I'm like,
you got arrested?
yeah, when I was 20.
Did we talk about this?
I don't know.
You know about it.
I know about it.
What'd you do?
I was around. He got busted.
When I was 20,
Burger King?
no, not Burger King. When I was, you know that bridge by if you go as if you were going to the turnpike.
Okay.
There's another turnpike like. You know when you go, like if you were going to...
It's actually right over here. So down in the oval,
Okay.
if you go to like the back left of the oval by that like street,
Okay.
there's like a bridge. Like that's where it was, right?
No, it wasn't by the Oval.
Oh, it wasn't that one?
You know, let's say you know where Clifton Commons is?
Yeah.
Like if you were going the usual route, like, Arlington Diner.
Okay.
Right before that, there's a bridge. There's like a weird intersection. Like you go when you go like the one traffic is going this way and this way, and then at one point it becomes a little hill and you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know
Do
exactly
you?
what you're talking about.
Anyway, there's like a.
That's where you turn left for Mr. Bernardchek. There's like that weird dip.
Yes.
Right? It's like
Oh,
the dip hill.
yeah.
So there's train tracks up there that's like abandoned.
right,
And
right.
we were up there sitting on the. Yeah, it was 20 words. It was me, David Oliveira. You know him?
I don't think so.
Well, you know him.
Yes,
This is a
of course.
bizarre group of people here. Me, David Oliveira, and Ben.
Ben Piantini.
Yeah.
Sorry to name drop you guys.
Yeah. Fuck them. I'm kidding. Fuck both of them. I'm kidding.
No, but really fuck them though.
Yeah, we were sitting there hanging out for whatever reason. Us three, we usually wouldn't hang out, but for some reason we were together and we were gonna smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were sitting there smoking, and then like we hear like nobody move. I'm like, oh fuck! And then like it was a cop, and we all got arrested. Yeah,
Damn, for smoking weed?
yeah,
Damn, that's cool.
yeah. It sucks. So I like long story short, like I've never been more nervous in my life. I'm like, oh fuck! Now like what does this even mean? Am I gonna get fired? Like I don't know what the hell the consequences of that. You know,
What were the consequences?
it was I didn't get fired. My
That's not bad.
and then I had to do probation for 6 months,
Oh.
which sucks because you have to go in to see the lady like every week. You have to go to probation
Mhm.
and talk to the lady and see like how you're doing. It was all like, speaking of bullshit, if anything is bullshit, it's probation. So you go to talk to the lady, and you're like, obviously, right? I started, I'm sorry, I got mixed up with the wrong crowd. But really, obviously, I thought I did nothing wrong.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you guys are the wrong ones. You should be here. That means, what's your social security number? So I'm sitting there, something like fat, pretentious lady who's semi-nice too, but also like she has this attitude of like, oh, I'm the officer or something, like, I fuck off. So I'm sitting like every week, and also like I'm not, aside from going to her to check in with her.
Something about the Social Security.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
About like sitting there, aside from sitting here and bullshitting that I'm sorry and like I'm doing well, whatever. There's also random drug tests.
Oh.
That's the worst.
Every time you go in there every week,
gotta
you
go.
might or might not. And
Right.
like back then I was a super stoner, so I'm like, it was really hard not to smoke.
How often do they test you?
You go every week.
No, but how?
Oh, they ended up doing it only like twice,
Wow.
but you never know. So like actually one time I couldn't. This is so other stupid thing that I couldn't resist, so I smoked. And then I'm like, oh fuck, what if it turns up, But I was like really active by then with like the walking and the hacky sack and riding bikes like crazy.
Just hacking 8 hours a day.
Yeah, and like I'm like let me, so like a few days before I had ceviche too, because I heard like lemon would help, and like ceviche is very lemony, so like I ate a lot of ceviche and I drank all the juice out.
It's
So
just delicious.
So then like that, oddly enough, the time that I smoked, like the next time I went, I did have to take a drug test.
Whoa.
And then luckily it didn't come up, and that was the last time too. I was about to be done with the
Damn,
probation, and then like I get like like the cold sores that you get. When I get that, when that happens, I take a pill now so it doesn't happen. But before, I didn't even know these pills existed.
What
So-
pill is this?
Valtrex, like what you would get for general herpes, that kills that herpes too. So yeah, I get it prescribed from your doctor. If you get cold sores, like that'll kill it like instantly. If you and you only need one dose. No, 2 doses, I believe. 2 doses, I think. And then, that'll kill it instantly. Granted, it didn't come out yet. They didn't like fully.
Yeah.
So I would get it really bad, and I would get it like all across my like from here all up my nose, and like it looked like horrible.
Really?
Yeah, I get it like really bad. When like I would get that like once a year, maybe when I would get burned at the beach or something, and like I would get it really bad. So that day that I went for the last drug test, I had that like really bad all up my nose, and like they looked like I thought like maybe like they're gonna think that I'm like blowing something or something, because if you blow a light, maybe you can scratch your nose or something or whatever, or like damage it or something. So I'm like, they might be suspicious of that. So then like I go home, they swab my mouth, like the drug test me, and then obviously when they swab my mouth, they put this in your mouth, and I'm like, I like really gently put it in my mouth, I'm like, I make sure I don't like spit on it a lot. I'm like, let me put it like on top of my tooth. I gave him the least saliva I possibly could, and then like that should have been the end of it. I think like 2 weeks later, or a week later, that pretentious, semi-nice lady calls me, like the probation officer. I still have her business card somewhere, I think, and like she's like, you didn't come up for pot, but you came up for cocaine. Did I tell you this? I don't know if I told you this part. And I'm like, are you? And I definitely had not done cocaine. I've never really done cocaine, So that I'm like. I think at that point I'm like, oh, this fucking bitch, what they're trying to do, because they saw that on my nose, they're trying to get me to confess to doing harder drugs to bust me again.
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to do, and that's exactly what they were doing, because I definitely didn't do cocaine.
Right.
And I'm like, I've never even seen cocaine, which was a lie, but I definitely hadn't done it then. But of course I told her I've never done it, I've never seen it. I had done it once, like a long time ago, but I've never done it. I have never seen it because damn you. They were following me since then. No, but I'm like, I've never done it. I've never seen it. That can't be. She's like, well, it came up. I'm like, are you joking? And this is some sort of like end of probation joke. There's no way that is true. I've never done it. And I just kept pushing it. Like she kept like coming back. I'm like, well, it came up. I'm like, I've never done it. This cannot be the case. There must be a mistake. I just kept going in hard, like not relenting. I'm like, no. And then she's like. And then she finally gave in. She's like, oh, okay, maybe it was a mistake or something, you're all done, and then it was all done.
Damn, what a fucking bitch.
I know,
Yeah,
she was trying to nail me unfairly,
that's
just out of her own bullshit suspicion.
That is crazy. And so think about that, though. It's like you just happen to know that there's no actual way that could be true, but
Exactly.
maybe in other ways, and other people on probation,
they do similar things at the end, and maybe for other people they're less certain as you are.
Right,
And I
right.
wonder how many people like cave at that point.
Yeah.
You know, not knowing that they're going to be tested like
Yeah.
the final test.
I think that would have been. I think that's a felony, like or something, obviously, it's a very serious crime. I don't think it's that serious of a crime, but obviously they don't agree. But so that
The
would have
law
been
doesn't agree.
that would have been awful. Like maybe I would have gone to jail or something, you know.
Sure.
So it's like I'm like you fucking fat bitch. And then finally, I think I also had to pay $1,000 in fine. So after all that bullshit for 6 months, and then trying to bust me even again, paid almost $1,000, paid the attorney $500. Then finally, I was, they dropped the charges. Yeah.
Don't get caught. Got it.
So after that, I'm like, before that, I was doing L rides and everything. I'm like walking around and doing. After that, I'm like, I would be like, my cousin would be like, "What's going on L ride?" I'm like, hell no.
Yeah. Like,
Even in somebody's backyard, I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, I'm like, yeah, that definitely. And then that officer who arrested me, who like whenever I see him, like I think in my head like officer, I don't know, like something cheesy, like officer doofus or like Dudley Do Right or something.
Do you still see him around?
I saw him like not too long ago, like a year ago. I saw him at the liquor store, and I just looked at him. I knew he recognized me because you can tell when somebody recognizes you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever, and I just walked away.
yeah.
I'm like, you fucker.
Liquor store fag. Shit.
I remember when the car arrived to the police station. He's like, "Why were you there?" And I'm like, "We weren't. I don't know. We thought it was a nice day. It's a beautiful day. We're just hanging out." And he didn't like say anything to that.
Didn't understand.
I was trying to like appeal to his emotions. I'm like, we're good people. Come on. And he's like, but he just wouldn't give in. I'm like, you fucking asshole. I should have claimed racism.
Yeah. Did you know I'm Brian?
But yeah. So I guess maybe last thing. How was that concert?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Who did you see? Who did you see?
It was just, they do it every year. It's basically, they just play classical music they have the New York Philharmonic, and they play some classical shit.
Was it good?
Yeah, it's usually pretty good. And then they do that, and then there's fireworks, and that's that. But
That's
you
nice.
basically, like, picnic, so me, 2 other people came that you probably know.
Moesha?
No, well, actually, maybe you don't know, but I don't know how to, fuck it was Flavio and Kat, and then this gay guy, Craig,
Okay.
and then,
Oh, I think I know that gay guy because I know a gay Craig.
yeah.
He must be him.
He went to Carnegie, didn't
I don't know. I've only known him post high school.
He's tall and skinny.
He's definitely skinny. I don't know how tall is, but he's like around my height, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. Like we did like a picnic thing. We came out. I ate like a cookie too.
Okay.
So that was nice. And then yeah, we just drank wine,
Nice.
ate cheese and olives.
You can drink
and
them
meats.
outside? Oh,
Yeah.
nice. That sounds really nice. When they do that, like it's a one-time thing?
he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Once a year.
They might maybe there's like other
Oh, nice.
events, but I know they only do it like once a
That
year.
sounds like fun.
That's the New York Philharmonic, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Those are like the Deadliest Orchestra, right?
yeah.
One among
in New York.
the deadliest. Yes, in New York for sure.
Yeah.
And probably better than the New Jersey Symphony Orchestra if I had to guess.
do they play like Beethoven and stuff like that?
I don't know, some shit I don't recognize it.
Yeah.
If
They-
you're like an opera head, maybe.
I remember the one year I went, they chose like really cool pieces, like stuff that I hadn't heard before, but that was very good, like, very cool selection. It wasn't just like,
It was your idea, right, to go?
it was Chica's idea.
Flavio's telling us that
Oh,
this
yeah.
whole thing was started because of Ian.
Oh, really? They've gone like every year?
Yeah, we've been going every year since.
Wow. And I don't
We
know
only,
go
missed,
anymore.
we only missed 1 year.
So it was you and them too?
Yeah.
I
it
gotta
was
start
Craig
penciling
and,
that into the calendar. I want to go. It is a good time.
It was nice. It was Friday, so it's like.
Yeah, it was a nice night, right?
Yeah. We got back late though, because we went to Dave's house. He got an apartment in Jersey City. It's
Really?
Yeah, they paid like $4,000
Damn.
for
God
an
damn.
apartment.
Between
yeah.
2 people?
Yeah.
Oh, that Dave that's like really successful?
Yeah, he's like banking hard now, so he's
Wait,
like,
yes?
he's making like 3 figures. Yeah.
Really? What's he doing?
Some bank shit. I asked him about
Wait,
stocks.
3 figures?
That's why he's like, don't invest in Apple and some other like 2 companies.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, 3 figures. What does that mean? Like 100,000 ish.
Yeah. Amazing.
That's 6 figures,
Good for-
right?
Oh, I wasn't counting the
He's
first
sticking
3.
zeros.
I wasn't counting the first.
Well, he makes
3.
like 100,000?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, I thought he made like a lot
a
more.
bit above that probably.
Oh, okay.
He was saying because he does like overtime and stuff too, not just his
busts his
regular
ass
wage.
working.
I'm not that impressed.
So I think he's making like 70 something an hour.
Oh, okay. No, that
I
is
think it
not.
was.
That is a really good salary. So he got a roommate and they got a $4,000 apartment.
Yeah, it's nice. There's like a rooftop.
Is it
with
super
pool
luxury?
and stuff. I guess it looks nice. It's the way it's set up is real nice. I guess it's worth
Do you think
some
you
amount of
do you
money.
think you would do that?
Get a $4,000 apartment
Yeah.
in Jersey City? No.
If you had the money, we still wouldn't do it.
Oh fuck! If I had the money, I'd get like I wouldn't go to Jersey City.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right.
If I hadn't to worry about money.
Is it near? Where is it exactly?
It's kind of by that Holland Tunnel, like
Oh, I see.
it's
Okay.
kind of close to
Near
there.
Newport Mall.
It's across the street from Beer Garden.
Oh, I remember. I haven't
It's
been in a long
literally
time.
across the
Okay,
street from
okay.
Beer Garden.
I went there once.
Was that a strategic move?
I think it was. I'm like, this is good if you're an alcoholic.
What is he an alcoholic?
He drinks
A lot.
a good amount. I mean, he's a big guy, so it takes a lot to fill him up.
Yeah, but how frequently does he drink?
I don't know anymore, but I think enough, a lot more than all of us combined.
Is he fat?
He's big.
He is. He's a really tall guy, and he's not like skinny. He's kind of like.
Oh, I didn't realize he was so.
I wouldn't say he's fat. but
No,
yeah,
fat is like mean. He's
yeah,
like
he's just-
husky.
He's
like
a big guy. Yeah, like
Oh, I didn't
I'm
realize how
really
big he was.
thin and lanky.
I don't think I ever met him.
But he's like.
Yeah, he has like a bigger structure anyway, and he's like
Yeah.
a tall guy.
He's
so
huge. Yeah.
He'd be good at like to play like basketball.
or rugby even.
If
you know?
if he worked out, he'd be Shaq.
Oh, okay. He's Hispanic, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like Chilean.
Like Hispanic Czech.
check.
Check.
Hey, check.
Guess what? Check.
You said, but you
Sounds like meme material to me.
you said you're not too crazy about him though, right?
I'm going to the bathroom. Beer.
No, I like
he's
him.
awesome. He's one of the
Yeah.
smartest people I ever met.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you guys said you didn't like him.
No, you might be thinking of a different Dave. That's also rich and successful. That's Ecuadorian.
Oh, I'm confusing the Dave then. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
The one that
This guy we call Computer Dave. Because he's like smart.
he's not the Grammy one.
No, that's the Ecuadorian Dave.
That guy is even more rich,
Yeah, he's
or not rich, but
he's more successful.
Oh,
He
okay.
chose good investments. And stuff. He's been richer longer. He's been like doing good. Like where this one just kind of like landed this right now. And now he's like,
oh,
But that
I'm
one's been
confusing
slinging his
him.
dick
Oh,
for a
okay,
while.
okay, I'm confusing him. Okay, and is he our age?
yeah.
Oh, okay. So this guy is actually a cool guy.
Yeah, the other Dave,
You-
it's like I'm hating on him, you know, but he's still like all right. I just like I'm not like that crazy about him because sometimes he's real. I don't know how to explain it. It's like fuck you, man.
Like
It's
rude.
Not rude, but it's almost not that he does this, but it would be like if you're talking to him and he would just like turn away and walk away.
Oh, really?
He wouldn't do that though, but it's that kind of vibe, you know
Oh,
what
okay,
I mean?
okay.
It's that kind of.
Like he's like ignoring you, kind of.
Not ignoring me, but I don't know how to say. He's like in ways. I guess he's socially off a little bit as well.
Okay.
And I don't like that the way in which he's off. It just rubs me the wrong way. I don't think he's necessarily a bad person or anything like that, but
Like what would be
Who's that?
the
We're
evil
talking
Dave?
about the
I confused
other
the
Dave.
Daves. I thought you were talking about
there's
that.
Computer Dave. There's the other Dave that won the Grammy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're
Bitcoin Dave.
So what would the Grammy Dave, like what would be something socially unacceptable that he would do, for example?
I don't know, he's just a little bit douchey. I think that's all it is. He's just a little bit like pretentious. Like we all wanted to go out for like New Year's, and he's like, "Oh, let's go to this one place where it's like $200
Oh,
to
yeah,
get
you
in,"
mentioned
and like
that.
all this. It's like, yo, we're not like slinging dick. Like we all just want to like meet up and hang out and get drunk, smoke some weed. You know, like
Yeah.
regular. He wanted to go like this big thing, and
Oh, he completely disregards.
he'll
like,
do. Yeah, like he's like, we're going flying out to like San Francisco. It's like, I should do that, and it's like, no.
That's like my grandma used to do shit like that. She's like, Italy is beautiful. You should go there. I'm like, we're barely eating.
Yeah, like some random day, like we have like a group chat, and it's like we'll hit people up, and it's like I'm in Iceland right now, I can't. It's like what the fuck, you can't just.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's that kind of. It's like it's nothing necessarily wrong. I think he's just a little bit
Like oblivious to other people.
oblivious to certain things. I don't think he's necessarily like an evil person. I
Right.
think
Like
he's
he thinks
okay.
everybody can just do that.
Yeah, that and just like other things, he's not like aware. Just
Okay.
he's a little less aware. He's more concentrated on like himself, which is like that's how he got there though.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So this other Dave is like really a nice guy.
yeah, he's nice.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
What
He's
is
the one
he?
that was freaking out on mushrooms that I was telling you guys about.
Oh, well,
That
what
he
is-
does not recall at all. I'm like,
Oh,
good.
I just forgot about that.
Good.
What does he do?
He's like I don't know exactly what he does.
Like IT?
But it's some bank shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's like in New York in like a fancy bank.
But he
doing
does like
fancy bank
he
stuff.
does like bank. I mean like well, not, but like on the programming side.
No, he's not like.
Oh.
He went to school for engineering. I don't know how he got. I think he got this job through just connections.
Oh, okay.
I don't know exactly what he does, so I can't like really delve in. I just know it's bank stuff
Okay.
and like a fancy international bank thing in the city.
Why does he say not to get involved with Apple?
I didn't delve too deep, but
Okay.
he said they were gonna take a hit soon,
I
like a big hit.
wonder if that's going to bode well for Microsoft.
Insider
I guess so.
information.
It's
Do you have
insider
some-
trench.
Do you have Microsoft now?
I started, yeah.
I got Microsoft.
I started buying Microsoft.
How much are those?
100,
About 100
or something.
100
It's
a share?
136, yeah.
Something like that. I don't know.
And then like it's going up.
Looks to be.
Oh, okay.
You don't know that. Nobody does.
You
Nobody
never
knows.
know. But
That's half the fun though.
I heard the recommendation that, because they're going to be moving more into cloud computing, that was the logic.
Oh, that's gonna help them.
They're kind of like breaking into, like, it's not so much the hardware stuff that's going to
Oh,
allow them to
okay.
grow, but it's going to be, those other things like going into cloud computing and other things like that. And I mean,
Also using a main hub of processing power to get something done and then send it back to you. Like, what do you mean by cloud computing?
to be honest, I don't know. I'm
Like
guessing,
Apple, like cloud, like Apple.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're
Because
just,
that's like storage. When you say cloud computing, you're making me think they're doing thinking
Yeah.
outside your machine and then sending back.
they might be.
Who knows what they're doing? You know what's funny? Not funny, but there's a Microsoft office right next to my building.
Oh yeah.
I basically go in there
Go
and
and talk to
get
some
the scoop.
What's the deal? What's the deal?
What are you guys up to? What are you doing back
I
there?
just sell computers.
I was thinking about taking a picture. Maybe it would be funny. Like, there's like a Microsoft sign there, like just like a plaque Microsoft, like any other building. I was thinking of putting an apple on top of it and just taking a picture.
Take a bite out of it first.
Yeah, I think my next computer is probably going to be a Windows computer.
Windows, yes.
I never got into Mac. I've
Gotta
always
support, Go do everything you can.
I never got into Mac. I've always, I feel like it kind of like it's so similar to that Android versus iPhone. People go back and forth so much, and like, oh, this and this and that.
Yeah,
But
my
like,
phone though.
yeah, but I'm saying for the I mean a computer. I never got an Apple computer.
Okay.
People go back and forth a lot on that, but I feel like for average computing needs like me, or like maybe slightly above average because I might edit a video here and there.
Yeah,
But like it's like it doesn't really matter.
no, for most people, it doesn't.
Mac's bad long though. Ugh. I
Mac
guess
is what?
after you're like hanging out in Windows all your life and going to Mac, it's like, ew, why do you do this? It's like, why is this the way it is?
Yeah, the interaction, the interface is different, right?
Yeah,
Very
it's like,
different, right?
Yeah.
It turns me off. It's like
The bar at the bottom.
yeah, or the bar on top, which
Yeah.
is like, it's like sometimes I won't even know I'm in the program, but like the top will like switch from Finder to like something else. I'm like, oh, it's like why isn't this open? It's like it is open. You just haven't decided to start a new document inside this program. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, what the fuck?
Like some shit like that, or it's like I'll try to maximize it and it'll make it just like a little bit bigger. It won't even. It's like I have all this screen left. It's like
Maximize, bitch.
It's like we only maximize it to squares, no rectangles. I'm sorry. It's like what?
Do you prefer Mac interface?
I've been using it for such a long time that but I haven't really. I like the Mac because it's really stable. Like I don't have programs like crash on me a lot, but I never had too much difficulty with Windows either. I like them both. I use them both pretty often.
Yeah.
Sometimes the one thing that kind of pisses me off a little bit is like when I use the Windows search function, it seems like it never fucking works right.
Really?
Whenever I search for files or anything, maybe it's just the networks I'm on and have been on, but it feels like for me the search function always works like shit. Whereas like Mac, it's pretty good. And the other thing that I like about Mac a lot is like things are updated in Finder by like whatever has been most recently used. So if I can't keep track of something, I just jump back into Finder and then it'll be like a couple of the items that I just used.
Oh, that is nice actually.
And so everything kind of stays floating around the top there. And now it's like, because I've been using the Mac for so long, like all the shortcuts and hotkeys and things like that, those are pretty good. The things I don't like is like, it's fucking proprietary programs like that I don't really like the way they operate. And like iTunes and Photos, like these.
Oh, I hate iTunes.
These like programs
God,
that try
no.
to manage like media, like I would prefer like the Windows style where it's like the fucking file is just there. It's not like nested in a
Embedded,
program.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
there, and then like whatever you do what you want with it.
They block target.
Yeah, but it seems like in Mac, like it's like every time I like connect a camera to upload photo or video, it's like Photos boots up. And it's like Photos, and I'm like, no. Like, but then I just gave in and I started using it. But then, like, if I want to get the file from Photos, I have to export from Photos, and that's just like,
That's why
I don't
it's
want
like,
to
just
do
move
that.
it.
Yeah, I don't like that,
I hate that
and
shit.
so that's just something I don't like.
iTunes like that. I think the iPhone. I like the iPhone a lot, But that's what the one thing I hate, like with iTunes, like yeah, it's blocked in such a ridiculous way. There's so much like red tape to
And
do
it's a
any-
heavy program too.
to do anything.
real heavy. That's why I got rid of it. It was
I hate-
slowing down my whole computer.
It's crazy.
There's
heavy.
there's so much crap. Like like if you connect it to one computer, like then when you first bought the phone, if you hooked it up to one computer, now it's a problem if you go to another computer. And then like you would think you can just do it easy, but you can't.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the hell do I do? Go to settings and all this crap. It's just like this whole thing to be able to unlock it another computer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell is this?
And that's one other thing too, that like I've been using a Mac a long time, and then there's still like areas and folders and submenus. It's like things that seem to be like stashed away in like weird places, like where you have all these like weird caches and things like that. That
Yeah.
it's like I never even see or like get to, and it's back there someplace. Like there's all these files like that I don't even know, but like that they're back there, and then I go and check that shit out. Whereas like Windows, it's like it's way more like obvious where everything is. It seems like. I mean, this again could just be like partially like my ignorance, but you would think like after using a Mac for like a decade that like some things would be a little more obvious.
Yeah.
But I do
feel
love
like,
Logic.
what's that?
Yeah.
That's audio like software.
Audio editing software?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
like
all I
D-
use
DAW.
Mac for, basically. That's the only reason I got it. Just to,
Oh, so you have a Mac at home too?
Yeah.
Do you have both?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
so I know what I'm talking about.
Logic is
It's
really
rolling
cool.
in.
And I've used Mac a lot in like when I was at school because everyone had Macs.
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the classes that had
yeah.
Macs, except for one computer lab which had all PCs, and it was all just. It was like a dark room, and all the PCs were like souped up. They're like glowing and shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, really? They were really powerful.
Yeah,
PCs?
because they were for video software rendering and stuff like that, and video rendering. I mean,
Nice.
I think maybe
Okay.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, video rendering, man, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
So they needed a computer so you could, upgrade and shit.
You want to hear something cool though?
What?
In terms of rendering, cool render story. So what I found out is like for Blender at least, and maybe for other software, you can like render farm things. So what you'll do is like you'll create like a path from the render to the cloud basically, and so you can have it so that multiple computers are working on rendering stuff at the same time.
Oh, really?
And so I have my lab at the school. I have all those computers. So what I realized is that like if I ever had like a big project, like I can just like have it rendering on all those computers
wow.
at school. So I have my own little render farm.
That's
Not
sick.
that those machines
That's
are
what
powerful.
cloud computing is,
Yeah, not that the machines are really powerful, but
Every little bit helps.
yeah, exactly. Like having 6 computers that I don't ever touch, like doing the work, that's pretty good.
How long does it take? Like the thing that you did last time, the last thing you did was really cool.
Thank you. That was a really quick render. That one took under 10 minutes to do.
Oh, okay.
That was a really simple render.
But I'm thinking next time I buy a phone, maybe I will go Android because I never had one. And like at this point, like the music I love the most, like I don't like I'm okay with just like looking it up on YouTube every once in a blue moon or something. Like I don't need to have it on my phone really,
Right.
or I can just go on my phone on YouTube or whatever.
Or use Amazon.
Yeah, or like,
Yeah.
or like, yeah, or like whatever. So I feel like next, like I'm not gonna spend like hours like before uploading shit into my phone anymore, probably.
Yeah.
So just a few albums probably. So I don't care about that as much. So I feel like maybe not that I couldn't do that with another phone anyway. So I think I'm just gonna to try. Maybe I'll try the Android next time,
Yeah, and I think for me,
like in a year when I need a phone or 2 years maybe.
I will say that the Apple iPad Pro, like people have been like putting a lot of nice digital drawings. Like it just looks amazing. Like the iPad Pro and this app called Procreate, and people are making these like great digital paintings, and it makes me want to get one
Yeah.
so fucking bad.
Maybe I mean like for you that makes sense, and because you're actually trying to work on things or working on things. But I
Yeah.
feel like especially when like the iPad and stuff first came out, like I knew people who had like an iPhone, an iPad, an iPad. I'm like, you don't do anything. Like, like why do you have so many of these devices?
Yeah. No, I think for like just thinking about like in terms of investment though, and like actual like computing power, I think instead of paying so much for the brand name, I'll just build something myself and invest.
Windows or
Yeah, in Windows, because you can't really build a Mac.
you can't.
I mean,
You can't do anything to a Mac.
You
so
can't-
when you
you
buy
can't.
a Mac, it's like there it is.
yeah, it's like you want the 64 gigabyte or the whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like I'd like to have a better video card. Like,
yeah.
Oh really? That sucks.
I couldn't even expand the RAM on mine,
So-
which sucks.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
It seems like throughout they're very rigid, right? Like they lock
that's
everything.
the-
Yeah.
And again, like that's why the platform is like safer, and but yeah, the customer support is really good because it has to be, because you have to like go through those channels to get
Yeah.
assistance for your stuff. Not that they never have offered it. It's just the particular year that I got my laptop. That year they did not put expandable RAM
in the fucking thing.
Oh, they have that now.
Some do. In previous years, they did. I don't know if they stopped it altogether. Maybe they do, so people get pushed up into a different like price point. But yeah, I think next time it's just going to be like just trying to build a machine that I can continue to like upgrade and.
There's some, like those companies who like they'll build it for you and you pick the parts. Like I bought this one from a place called Exotic PC, and it's really. I mean, I think it's really good. But I mean, you'll probably be even cheaper if you do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this computer probably, I don't know, it's once I cleaned it, I have to clean it every like 6 months maybe, or something like that. And it's still going really well. You know, now it's 3 years old now.
Damn.
And I think like easily it could last another 3, maybe even more, you know. So that's good.
My MacBook is like 5 years old, and that's the thing though. It still keeps up with everything, and I've never had a problem with it.
Yeah. I bought like, it was pretty high end when I bought it. Even like, it has 32 gigs of RAM, I think, which is pretty good. I'm sure now they have what, like 128 probably, right?
Dude, mine has
I
8.
don't know.
8.
I have 16, so
8.
yours is pretty good.
Yeah.
8.
Mine's older than
8.
yours, though.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean like.
8's like, okay.
Still keeps up.
Yeah.
Still keeps
Yeah.
up. I've never gotten like you're out of memory, but
The thing is, like, I feel like, yeah, like, because all the time things keep getting updated, so now the computer needs more and more. And even just, like, to, like, eventually, just to turn it on, or run the internet, like, it now requires, like,
16 gigs of RAM.
it requires, like,
Just
all
to-
this crap, because all these updates and shit, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
They nail you like that. I guess they have to do it in that way, but I wonder how much of it is, like, purposely increasing requirements arbitrarily. Just, you know, is there a lot of that going on, or is it just, like, a little bit of that, you know? I don't know.
There's got to be some of that.
Right? There's probably some of it.
People make, think about the web back in like 2001.
So simple.
So it's just
Yeah.
now it's like
HTML text. That's it. Now you have all these plugins and fucking animations.
all this shit's gotten away. They have like video, like straight up like HD video being streamed like on the first page. It's like, which would be so faux pas back in the day. Now it's like,
Yeah,
or like
right.
loading pictures like.
it's like people could do this now.
It's awesome. It is really cool. It's like such a fluid experience, and now it's even like, even when you're using the computer and not browsing the internet, you're connected to the internet in so
Yeah,
many
yeah.
ways. I mean, it's like all the Adobe products are like syncing up with all Typekit, and then they have like the cloud storage for Adobe and all that shit. And not to mention like the fucking. I have Drive synced to my computer and stuff like that, and then on top of that, you have all the push notifications that are just like, always coming down. So it's like the line is getting blurred completely between like being on the internet and not being on the
Yeah,
internet.
you just automatically turn it on and you're on. Yeah. Well, should we? We didn't meditate.
We didn't.
Yeah.
Meditate and eat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll turn this off, or whatever.
Disconnect from the internet.
Disconnect the internet.